It was a Sunday morning. She was still asleep upstairs. The coffee was still hot. The kids were at my mother's for the weekend. I was sitting at the kitchen table, completely still, staring at a photo on my phone. My wife, another man, a house I had never seen, and on the front door, a welcome mat that said home. She had been building that life for 2 years. With my money, while I worked double shifts to give our family everything. What she didn't know, I had already found out 3 weeks earlier. And every single day since then, I made dinner. I kissed her goodnight, and I never said one word. Not because I was weak, because I was building something too. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 35, electrician, Columbus, Ohio. And by the time this story ends, she lost the house, the money, and the man she left me for. All in one Friday morning. Let me take you back to where this really started. I married Rachel when I was 27. She was 26. We had known each other for 2 years through mutual friends. She was a dental hygienist. Warm, funny, the kind of person who remembered small details about people, their kids' names, their allergies, what they ordered last time. I had just started my own electrical contracting business. 2 vans for employees, more debt than confidence. But I believed in it. I believed in us. By the time I was 29, we had our son Marcus. By 31, our daughter Lily. By 33, the business had grown to 12 employees. We paid off the house 2 years ahead of schedule. We had built $190,000 in joint savings, dollar by dollar, year by year, money I thought of as a fortress. Something that would protect our family no matter what came at us. I was not a perfect husband. I will say that clearly. I worked too much. I missed dinners. I came home exhausted and checked out. There were stretches of weeks where Rachel and I operated more like co-parents running a household than 2 people who had chosen each other. But I was loyal. I was faithful. And I believed, completely and without question, that she was too. I was wrong. Looking back, the shift started around 2021. Small things at first. She started going to the gym more, Tuesdays and Thursdays, always those 2 days. Nothing suspicious. I was glad she was taking care of herself. She started staying later at work. Backed up patients. Staff meetings. Nothing I questioned. Her phone started going everywhere with her. Into the bathroom. Flipped face down on the kitchen counter. Set to silent instead of ring. I noticed. I always noticed. But I told myself what a lot of men tell themselves when they don't want to see what's right in front of them. I trust her. And a man who trusts his wife doesn't go looking for reasons not to. That thought, right there, cost me 2 years I will never get back. It was my friend Kevin who cracked it open. Kevin runs a landscaping crew. He was doing a job at a new development 3 towns over, Westerville, and he texted me a photo with one line. "Hey man, is this Rachel's car? White Honda CRV Ohio plate. Her book club Thursday bumper sticker on the back. Parked in the driveway of a house that was not ours." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, probably a coincidence. Same model. 30 seconds later, he sent a second photo. Closer up. Same plate. Same dent on the rear bumper from the parking lot scrape she told me she had already gotten fixed. I put my phone in my pocket. Finished the job I was on. Drove home. Made dinner. Helped Lily with her math homework. Sat with Marcus until he fell asleep watching TV. When Rachel came home at 9:40, smelling like a restaurant I had never been to, I looked up from the couch and said, uh, how was book club? She smiled, kicked off her shoes, said, really good. Long night, though. I'm exhausted. Get some rest, I said. She went upstairs. I sat in the dark living room for another hour. I already knew, and she had absolutely no idea that I knew. I did not blow up. I did not confront her that night, or the next morning, or the morning after that. Instead, I went to see Tommy. Tommy is Rachel's younger brother, 31, works in logistics, has always been the kind of person who tells you the truth, even when it cost him something. He and I had been close long before I married his sister. I drove to his apartment on a Wednesday evening, sat down at his kitchen table, and slid my phone across to him with Kevin's photo on the screen. He looked at it for a long time without speaking. Then he said, Danny, how long do you want me to be honest with you? Turns out Tommy had been carrying something for months. He had seen a name come up on Rachel's phone once. She had left it on his counter while she used the bathroom. A name that kept appearing in the notifications. Ryan Cole. I had never heard that name in my life. I think Tommy drove home, put the kids to bed, lay next to Rachel in the dark and stared at the ceiling. And the next morning, I called a private investigator. Her name was Sandra. She came recommended by my business attorney, calm, professional, no drama. I told her I needed 3 weeks of documentation. As only. Nothing illegal. Just timestamps and facts. She delivered in 18 days. Ryan Cole, 38 years old, regional sales manager for a medical supply company. Divorced, no kids, drove a black Audi, lived in a rented townhouse in Westerville, the same development where Kevin had spotted Rachel's car. They had been seeing each other for just over 2 years. Thursdays and some Saturdays, the days Rachel told me she was at book club or visiting her college friend Diane in Cincinnati. Trips I had encouraged her to take because I thought she needed time away, because I wanted her to be happy. Sandra's report had receipts, restaurants, a weekend in Nashville, a spa hotel in Gatlinburg. That one hit hard because that same month I had worked back-to-back emergency jobs to cover a cash flow shortage in the business. I had come home exhausted every night for 3 weeks while she was in Gatlinburg with another man using the money I had earned. I sat with the report for 2 days. Then I opened the last section. Sandra had flagged something. Client should review joint account transaction history, specifically outbound transfers labeled Household Miscellaneous, beginning March 2021. I pulled the statements that night after the kids were in bed. 22 months. From March 2021 to the day I was sitting there reading. $73,000 had left our joint account in transfers I had never authorized. Always small amounts. $600 here. $1,900 there. Always labeled just vaguely enough to look like routine household spending. Sandra had cross-referenced the dates. Every single transfer made within 48 hours of a night she spent with Ryan Cole. She was not just cheating on me. She was making me pay for it. I called Sandra the next morning and asked her to go one level deeper. What she found took 4 more days. Ryan Cole had been building a down payment fund for a house. Not his rented townhouse. Permanent house. 3 bedrooms. Good school district. A yard big enough for kids. The account had 2 contributors. Ryan Cole and a joint contributor listed as our Mercer, my wife's initial. She was not just having an affair. She was buying a house with another man, a house she was planning to move my children into. I remember exactly where I was when I read that, sitting in my truck outside a job site in Dublin, radio on low, the sun coming through the windshield. I turned off the radio. I sat in complete silence for a very long time. Then I picked up my phone and called my attorney. Not to file anything. Not yet. Just to ask one question. If I give you 3 more weeks, how much stronger does my position get? He said, significantly. I said, then we wait. Here is something nobody tells you about finding out your wife is betraying you. The rage comes first. It is loud and hot, and it wants to burn everything down immediately. The house, the marriage, the other man's car in that driveway. But if you can hold it, if you can breathe through it and let it settle, something else comes underneath. Something cold and quiet and precise. Clarity. I had clarity. And clarity told me I needed 3 things before I made a single move. First, the complete financial picture. My attorney connected me with a forensic accountant named Paul. He spent 1 week going through 4 years of statements, every account, every card, every transfer. His final number was not $73,000. It was $91,000. $91,000. Taken from our family savings in small, careful bites over nearly 2 years. Money we had scraped together through late nights and skipped vacations and second jobs. Gone. Second, the house closing date. Sandra tracked the property Ryan Cole was under contract on. Closing day, a Saturday. 6 weeks away. And here is the part that I had to sit with for a long time before I could say it out loud without my hands shaking. Rachel's plan, which Sandra had pieced together from emails and calendar entries, was to let the closing happen on Saturday. Move her things that weekend. And then tell me the following week, when the house was already bought, when she already had somewhere to go, when there was nothing I could do to stop any of it. She was going to hand me divorce papers and walk out the door into a life she had already built with my money and just be gone. Third, and this was the most important, my children needed to be protected before anything else moved. My attorney filed a motion to establish interim custody arrangements. Quietly, without serving Rachel yet. My name was on the house. My business was the primary income. The kids' schools were tied to our address. We filed on a Thursday. Rachel had no idea. The closing on Ryan's house was a Saturday. We served her divorce papers on the Friday before. At 7:15 in the morning, while she was making the kids' lunches, I had sent Marcus and Lily to my mother's the night before. Told Rachel my mom wanted to see them before a trip she was taking. Rachel didn't question it. She had her mind on other things. Tomorrow was the closing. She thought everything was almost done. The process server knocked at 7:12. I was already dressed, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, the same table where I had sat 3 weeks earlier staring at Kevin's photo. Rachel opened the door, took the envelope, looked confused, walked into the kitchen. Danny, what is this? Divorce papers, I said. Sit down. She sat. She opened the envelope slowly, and I watched her face change, the color draining out, as she reached the exhibit pages. Sandra's full report, the bank statements with every transfer highlighted, the property records for the house in Westerville showing our Mercer as joint contributor on the down payment. How long have you known? She asked. 3 weeks, I said. She looked up at me. And I want to tell you what I expected to see. I expected guilt. I expected shame. I expected tears and panic. What I actually saw, and this took me a long time to process, was relief. Like she had been holding her breath for 2 years and someone had finally let her put it down. I was going to tell you, she said quietly. After this weekend. I know, I said. After the closing. She went very still. You knew about the house. I knew about everything. Right. The transfers. Nashville. Gatlinburg. The closing date. Every transfer. All of it. She stared at me. Then why did you wait? I looked at her, this woman I had built a life with for 8 years, and I said, because I needed the kids protected before you could complicate custody. Because I needed the financial documentation airtight before you could move anything. And because I wanted you to wake up this morning thinking today was going to be the best day of your new life. I let that land. Then I said, it is not going to be that day, Rachel. Her phone buzzed on the table. Ryan's name lit up the screen. I looked at it, then at her. You should probably tell him, I said, that the closing is going to be complicated. She picked up the phone and walked to the other room. I refilled my coffee, and I sat at that table, completely calm, completely still, while the life she had spent 2 years building behind my back began to come apart. The closing did not happen on Saturday. My attorney had filed an emergency motion the day before, citing the transfers from our joint account as marital asset dissipation. In Ohio, money moved out of a joint marital account for the benefit of a third party is legally recoverable. The R. Mercer contribution to the Westerville down payment was flagged as exactly that. The title company received notice of the pending legal dispute Friday afternoon. The closing was frozen, pending resolution. Ryan Cole found out Saturday morning, 30 minutes before he was supposed to sign, when his real estate agent called to tell him there was a legal hold on the transaction. While he was on the phone trying to figure out what had happened, I was at my mother's house with Marcus and Lily, eating pancakes and helping Lily glue together a birdhouse she had started the week before. The divorce proceedings moved quickly after that. My attorney was fully prepared. Rachel's was not. Paul's forensic accounting report established $91,000 in documented marital asset dissipation. Under Ohio law, that figure was credited entirely to my side of the settlement calculation. The house in Westerville was never purchased. What remained of our joint savings was frozen and divided under court supervision. Rachel moved into a rental on the other side of Columbus. Ryan Cole, and I genuinely did not see this coming, ended things with her within 2 months of the closing falling apart. Apparently, a woman who arrived with legal complications, no house, and an active divorce proceeding was not what he had imagined when he started this. Custody was finalized with me as primary residential parent. Marcus and Lily stayed in their school, stayed in their routines, stayed in the house their father had paid off early. Rachel has them every other weekend and every Wednesday evening. She shows up. She is trying to be present. For the kids, that matters to me, even now. Six months after the divorce was finalized, Marcus asked if we could talk. He was 14 then, old enough to have understood more of what had happened than I had given him credit for. We sat on the back porch on a Thursday evening. He had his hands around a soda the way he does when something is heavy on his mind. He said, "Dad, I knew before you did." I looked at him. He told me he had seen a notification flash across Rachel's phone. Just a preview, not the full message, about 8 months before Kevin ever sent me that photo. He had not understood it at first, but then he started noticing the same things I had noticed. And he had spent 8 months carrying that weight alone, hoping he was wrong, hoping it would stop on its own. "Why didn't you come to me?" I asked. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because I didn't want to be the one to break your heart, Dad." I sat with that for a long time. My 14-year-old son had been protecting me. That hit me harder than any document Sandra had ever handed me. Harder than the bank statements. Harder than the property records. Harder than any of it. I told him clearly he had done nothing wrong. It was never his job to protect me from the truth. The only person responsible for what happened was the person who made those choices. He nodded, finished his soda, then said, "You handled it right though, Dad. You didn't blow up. You just fixed it." I didn't feel like I had fixed anything. But hearing him say that, understanding that he had watched how I handled those 3 weeks of knowing, I realized something. Whatever I had modeled for him in that time, whatever he had seen in the way I chose patience over rage, documentation over destruction, my kids over my anger, that was worth more than the $91,000. That was worth more than the house. That was worth more than any of it. It has been 14 months since the divorce was finalized. The business is doing well. Better than it was before, honestly, because I stopped carrying the weight of something being wrong that I could not name. That weight is heavier than people realize until it is gone. Marcus is finishing middle school now. He wants to study engineering. Lily just turned 7 and has decided she is going to be a veterinarian and a soccer player and a chef all at the same time. I told her that sounded about right. I sold a house earlier this year. Too many rooms for 3 people half the time. We moved into a smaller place on the east side of Columbus. Good yard. Quiet street. The kids help pick the paint colors for their rooms. Rachel and I are functional, carefully for the kids' sake. We text about school schedules. We showed up together at Lily's soccer tournament in September without it being a problem. Progress looks like ordinary things. I do not know much about where Rachel is now beyond what relates to the kids, and I have made peace with not needing to. What I know is this. I spent 3 weeks watching someone I had given everything to build a door out of our life, and instead of kicking it down the moment I found out, I made sure my children were standing on solid ground before she could complicate a single thing. That was not revenge. That was a father deciding what he was actually fighting for. I was not fighting to punish Rachel. I was not fighting to destroy Ryan Cole. I was fighting for Marcus and Lily, and that is a fight worth being patient for. If you're going through something like this right now, if something in your gut has been telling you something your heart is not ready to hear, take a breath. Document everything. Say nothing yet. Call a lawyer before you say a word to anyone who might warn them. And remember, the most powerful move you will ever make is the one made from clarity, not from rage. My name is Daniel Mercer. Thank you for watching until the end. If this stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below. Tell me what part hit you hardest. Tell me where you're from. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button. More stories are coming. Real ones. I'll see you in the next one.